Hi everyone, and welcome back to our final segment of our All Access Pass presented by Canadian Tire. Once again, I'm your host, Tara Finley, and it has been a great week of Canadian skating here in Ottawa. We've had the privilege of bringing you behind the scenes, having exclusive interviews with our top athletes, as well as showing you the ins and outs of the Canadian Championships. But today, we thought it was only fitting to close out our final segment with a man who has become very well known in the skating world, Brian Williams.
Tara, it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. There's been a lot going on this week. Skating was incredible. But I really want to know for you, up in the TSN broadcast booth, what's gone into being able to put on this show for everyone watching back at home?
Well, it's preparation. I mean, you have the technical, the truck has to move in, the mobile studio, as we call the truck, and all the cables for Rod, Tracy, myself, Sarah Orleski. It's the preparation, the studying, the knowing history. There are just so many variables you have to deal with. So you've got the technical setting up, and believe me, they're the best in the business, the cameramen, the sound men, the lighting men. Then you've got the production crew, the directors, the producers, and we have to be prepared. I mean, we have to know this is the 15th time the Canadians have ever been in Ottawa. The first ever Canadians, and I did not cover it, in 1914, were here in Ottawa. The history in this building, I saw Barbara Underhill yesterday. I worked with Barb in my days at CBC. It was in this building in 1984 that Barbara Underhill and Paul Martini won gold at the World Championships. The crowd was so loud, she was telling me, they were standing in the old Ottawa Civic Centre, now the arena at TD Place. They couldn't hear their music for the last 30 seconds, and it was also in this building that the great Torvill and Dean got perfect sixes at the Worlds in 1984. So you have to know the history, you have to know the current skaters, you have to know that Gabby Daleman's from Newmarket, Ontario, you have to know the coaching background. And with the Canadians, there is in many ways, extra preparations required, because when you do Skate Canada, we often know the big stars from around the world.
Right.
But with the Canadians, there are so many young skaters, men, women, pairs, dance coming up that you're not familiar with, so you have to learn their background and do our homework.
Well, especially here at this event, because we had novice, junior, senior, and right from novice, there were some really great performances. I want to know for you, what was a highlight for you watching this event this year?
I think Patrick Chan, his 9th Canadian title, that equals the great Montgomery Wilson. And the great backstory is, and again, this is doing preparation, Montgomery Wilson in the 30s, that's when he basically started, won 9 Canadians, but he won 7 in a row. Then there was a break. He didn't win for a couple of years. They were won by a man named Osborne Colson, the great Ozzie Colson. He then came back and won 2 more after Colson. The tie-in to Patrick Chan is he was Patrick Chan's first coach, Osborne Colson, and Patrick Chan's mentor. So, and I had met Colson, interviewed both he and Patrick at the Granite Club in Toronto many years ago. So for me, that was one of the great stories, seeing Virtue and Moyer come with a 7th Canadian title. Number 6 was won not here, but at the Canadian Tire Centre back, also in Ottawa. To see, I remember going back to Moncton 6 years ago. Megan DeHamel, Eric Radford, they were nervous. They were so young. And Megan saying, now I'm an old lady and I'm still winning. That's her description, not mine. And she was just kidding. Just so many wonderful stories. And I think, Tara, an interesting story for me is that for years we have seen the women struggle. A lot of many falls, a lot of, I wouldn't say accidents, but they've struggled. It was very different here this year, in particular in the short. I mean, Osmond, Daleman, Chartrand, what a show they put on. The women were so strong and tough, and we saw a fight that we often see from the men, and it was the men, with the exception of Patrick, that struggled here this weekend. So many great stories.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because like you said, we've seen over the years the ladies struggle, and now we have some of the top ladies in the world. What are some of your memories of skating and your world memories that you've accumulated over the years?
Well, my first, I think, is 1989 in Paris. It was the year after the Calgary Olympics, and the Canada did not win a gold in Calgary. They had 2 silvers, Liz Manley from here in Ottawa and the great Brian Orser. So now there's a new generation. We go to Paris, France, and it's a cowboy from Caroline, Alberta. The great Kurt Browning, I call him the cowboy from Caroline. His dad, Dewey, was there with his Western Stetson on and the big square belt buckle. I will never forget that. And, of course, Brasseur and Eisler burst on the scene then. So that was special. 1990 in Halifax. Kurt won there. I will always remember first working with Tracy Wilson, then on CBC. Michael Slipchuk was 9th there. I remember Prague because it was in the early 1960s, and I'm old enough to remember when the entire American skating team was killed in a plane crash going to the World Championships in Prague. It was very emotional because these were the first championships back in Prague in decades since that accident. I also remember the Worlds in Munich because my daughter Amy, who is now 35, was with me and my wife Geraldine. And when Kurt won his gold medal, Amy was standing there, and I'm looking at the monitor, and I said, my God, I think that's Amy sitting in Kurt's lap. And we had a great laugh here because now she's a grown woman, and she went up to Kurt and said, I'm the little girl that sat in your lap. And he didn't know she was my daughter. He simply said, hey, come here and sit here in the kiss and cry. So I could go on all day, but it's a great sport. We're a nation of sports on ice, of ice and snow. The Winter Olympics are the games of ice and snow, and I think we're going to see a closer relationship between figure skating and hockey, between Hockey Canada and Skate Canada. Barb Underhill, the aforementioned Barb, is teaching power skating to the Maple Leafs. Skaters are teaching the Oilers. David is out there. So there's so many sort of links between figure skating and hockey, and I think that's great.
Well, it's been a great week here, and it's been very nice. You know, you've mentioned Liz Manley, Kurt Browning. We saw those alumni skaters here at the event watching, and I chatted with a couple of them. They were so impressed with everything that went on here this week. We can't thank you enough for joining us up here. It's great to pick your brain a bit and hear your knowledge and your memories of skating. I'm sure you made many this week. But we thought that it would be great to come up to the TSN desk, chat with Brian, bring you a final segment here. We hope you enjoyed our All Access Pass presented by Canadian Tire. I had a great time doing it. I hope you guys had a great time viewing it. Brian, I would love you to do your signature sign-off for us with everyone watching on Facebook Live and send us home to the next event.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess what I'll say, I haven't written it yet, but I would say, well, as we wrap up the 2017 Canadian Tire Nationals from here in Ottawa, what a week to remember. Patrick Chan with a record-tying 9th Canadian championship. The great de Hamelin Radford, title number 6, a Canadian record. Virtue Moyer, number 7. Caitlin Osmond, number 2. A city that has hosted now 15 national championships. The first ever was here, not in this building, but in this city in 1914. We've had a good time. Hope you've enjoyed it. For all of us, for Rod Black, Tracy Wilson, Sarah Orleski, and of course, Tara Finley. I'm Brian Williams. Thanks for watching. So long from the 2017 Canadian Tire Nationals.